We're going to play something here that they played a while ago. I took my TV and run it backwards because I personally think what may be coming down the pike may actually be worse than what we've done already seen or experienced pertaining to the homegrown violence that Homeland Security has put out a brand new warning indicating that the possibilities of this type of violence is now escalating to the point of people needing to be concerned about other types of problems. Here we go. Let's back this up a little bit and let's listen to the rest of this. But it just proves that much more that one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch whenever it comes to a president that planted false seeds in a bunch of people's minds and in a bunch of people's hearts and was radicalizing the people in the way that he was doing what he was doing. For anybody to do this, I don't care if you was a president, it should have been looked upon in a more strenuous way, similar towards how Google and Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of them basically deactivated Donald Trump's accounts because of spreading that type of poison into our atmosphere. And now it's got over into Russia, in which I can honestly say that the group that started this, pertaining to them rising up against their authorities, was over in China over a year ago, right before the coronavirus broke out. It's almost like an infestation of a disease that's rising up against the authorities. And I guess Homeland Security and FBI has decided to alert the general public. Let's please watch this what this program is about.
Guard already helping with the vaccine in more than 30 states. David?
Alex Perez leading us off tonight. Alex, thank you. Meantime, tonight, we are also following that new and alarming bulletin tonight. The Department of Homeland Security issuing a rare national terrorism advisory warning that violent extremists could mobilize to incite or commit violence, that they feel emboldened after the deadly riots at the Capitol. There's also news tonight that federal authorities have arrested a man allegedly found with 5 pipe bombs and dozens of weapons. What they say he was threatening to do. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, tonight.
Tonight, the nation on alert. Homeland Security issuing a rare, urgent bulletin warning right-wing militants and lone wolves may target elected officials and government facilities, and were emboldened by the January 6th Capitol riots. Also at risk, critical infrastructure.
They were emboldened. In other words, those that wasn't radicalized before January 6th now have become radicalized, adding that much more fuel to the fire. It's really sad that America, our top officials, the experts, the people that's supposed to know better, sit back and let the witch's brew, I'm going to call it the witch's brew, stir and stir and stir to the point that now we're seeing the manifestation of it. You can't continue to get on national TV the way that Trump done and stir up a group of people again and again and again in every state and think that this stuff is just going to miraculously vanish or go away. Once you have planted this type of seed of hatred against your opponent or against the tone of free, fair, open elections in regards to our democracy, once you plant this seed or start this fire, it's hard to put it out. And I think that may be what the authorities are starting to look at because of all the chatter that's going on pertaining to the internet. And believe it or not, I can remember whenever the CIA director, I don't forgot his name now, he was an older gentleman. He was the one that was raising red flags pertaining to the chatter that was going on. Give or take, I guess about 6 months to a year before the first trials come about in regards to trying to punish Mr. Trump for his role with the Ukrainian affairs. There was all kinds of red flags that was going up pertaining to CIA, that of chatter that was being talked about, and now we're starting to see the manifestation of that chatter. This is not good. This is not good at all. Let's watch the rest of this.
Officials and government facilities, and were emboldened by the January 6th Capitol.
What did he say? Back it up.
Also following that new and alarming bulletin tonight, the Department of Homeland Security issuing a rare national terrorism advisory warning that violent extremists could mobilize to incite or commit violence, that they feel emboldened after the deadly riots at the Capitol. There's also news tonight that federal authorities have arrested a man allegedly found with 5 pipe bombs and dozens of weapons. What they say he was threatening to do. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, tonight.
Tonight, the nation on alert. Homeland Security issuing a rare, urgent bulletin warning right-wing militants and lone wolves may target elected officials and government facilities, and were emboldened by the January 6th Capitol riots. Also at risk, critical infrastructure, power and communication grids across the nation.
They are out there, they're angry, they're disenfranchised, they're upset that President Trump lost.
Law enforcement on edge as the FBI races to arrest all those who staged the insurrection on Capitol Hill. The massive scale of the probe becoming clearer. 400 suspects identified, hundreds more under investigation. Charges of sedition likely coming. Authorities continue to hunt for those who planted those pipe bombs and score.
Charges of sedition likely coming. If charged and found guilty, is a 20-year sentence. And the best that you could do on good behavior would be probably about 18 years out of the 20. That's if you went in and you crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's and you didn't get in no type of horrible situation while you was in prison. You might get out in 18 years. That's the seriousness of this. That's the seriousness of what went on January 6th. That's the seriousness of writing a letter or typing or texting an official and telling them that you're going to their house or that you're going to do bodily harm to these particular people. This is the most heinous time that I've ever seen America right now. And we have a decent president that's trying to bring all this in queue while fighting a pandemic, the coronavirus, but at the same time needing to make adjustments on other matters. Today, he just got through signing a document pertaining to global warming. Well, if the truth be known, these same radicalists probably will tell you, oh, there ain't no such thing as global warming. There ain't no such thing as global warming. Once more, you're dealing with a group of people that has been indoctrinated by Donald J. Trump and others that has told them lies to the degree that people rather believe a lie than they would a truth. The truth, even though science contradicts that. Our religion contradicts that. Because Jesus taught us to be wise as serpents but harmless as doves. You cannot indicate any type of harsh measurement pertaining to being violent if you are a true, born-again, God-fearing Christian, unless you're doing it to protect yourself and to protect your family.
With other people who attacked police both inside and outside of the Capitol. Tonight, growing concern about other potential suspects who may also be planning. Today, the FBI announcing charges against Ian Rogers after authorities say they discovered an arsenal of 49 firearms and 5 fully functional pipe bombs.
Look at that. You know, it makes me quiver to see stuff like that because my mind automatically goes back to the marathon up in Boston whenever somebody took a homemade pressure cooker and turned it into basically the same thing that I think cost I don't know for sure how many people major injuries, but I think if I'm not mistaken, there was a fatality or two out of all that. That's what you're looking at right there. You're looking at violence. You're looking at bloodshed. You're looking at loss of limbs and loss of eyes and hardship upon the people's lives. That's exactly what you're looking at right there. And to think that we are having this within our ranks, within our own country, just absolutely makes me sick at my stomach to sit here and look at this, of realizing, my God, the whole time that various people was telling everybody about this disease that was forming. I'm going to call it a disease, or this witch's brew that was forming, that Donald Trump was casting upon to society here in America. Now we're starting to see the manifestation of it. It is sickening. It is a heartbreak, especially if you are a true patriot and you do love your country. This is one of the greatest countries in the world. We have more to be thankful for in this country than we ever thought about in other countries. And if we don't watch, we're going to throw away those freedoms. We're going to throw away those opportunities to the degree that our children and our children's children and those in behind us won't be able to pleasurably enjoy the things that we have taken advantage of if we don't watch. This has to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed fairly quick, pertaining to how the government is not going to allow its own people to make a mockery out of itself. That's the reason why that they have voted, as of yesterday, to go ahead and go with the impeachment trials. I don't know how that's going to go, but the fact of the matter is, people are watching White House. People are watching Capitol building and senators and congressmen. People are watching. They're paying close attention towards what you're doing, what you're voting in and what you're voting out, what you're signing, what you aren't signing. People are paying close attention. It's as if, I've said this before, it's as if suddenly, all of a sudden, you got 80 more million people here in America that really wasn't paying attention to our affairs over here, that has now suddenly come out onto the ball field, that now wants to play ball. But the thing about these 80 million people that has suddenly come out onto the ball field in the past, let's say, 4 or 5 years, in comparison to the people that voted in the past 10 years, 20 years, these people are now radicalized, and they're studying violence, violent behavior. They want to hurt. They want to lash out. They want to do damage. They want to tear up stuff. They want to vandalize cemeteries and headstones and federal and state monuments, and they want to just basically cause chaos. This is not the civilized, proper way of dealing with contradicting subjects that you don't go along with. This is not the proper way of doing things. You cannot go out here and hurt innocent lives simply because you feel like something should be changed.
The FBI claims Rogers was angry because President Trump lost and was preparing for an attack, allegedly texting, "I want to blow up a Democrat building bad. I hope 45, President Trump, goes to war. If he doesn't, I will." Rogers is suspected of being affiliated with the militia group, the Three Percenters, a claim his defense attorney denies. Members of Congress now more certain than ever they faced a lethal threat. South Carolina Republican Congressman Tom Rice telling our affiliate WPDE,
"Tens of thousands shouting, 'Hang Mike Pence.' If they'd have gotten their hands on Mike Pence, they would have killed him. I'm convinced of that."
And as the Senate prepares to put former President Trump on trial, Democrats continue to maintain that words have dangerous ramifications, many pointing to Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who they claim has supported QAnon conspiracy and other dangerous theories. This video posted on Greene's Facebook Live in 2019. It has since been taken down.
"It's a crime punishable by death," is what treason is. Nancy Pelosi is guilty of treason.
Pierre Thomas following it all today, and Pierre with us now because there's also news in another case tonight, the alleged plot to kidnap and harm the governor of Michigan. It would seem tonight one of the militia members charged in the plot is now turned, pleading guilty.
That's right, David. We have the first guilty plea in the plot to kidnap Michigan's governor. Today, militia member Ty Garvin pleaded guilty to conspiracy, confirming that the plot to take the governor hostage was real. And David Garvin claims that they were planning to get Whitmer on trial after they kidnapped her, David.
All right, Pierre Thomas live in Washington. Pierre, thank you. We're going to turn next here tonight to those dangerous winter storms slamming both coasts tonight. 15 states on alert now from California to North Carolina. In the east, look at this, a tornado touching down in Tallahassee, Florida.
They just had a tornado that touched down just outside of Birmingham yesterday. I'm going to say this as you watch a little bit more of this pertaining to the weather. They have now come to the realization that the plot of going to kidnap the governor, I guess it was in Michigan, and going to hold some sort of a backwoods trial and basically put her to death. The plot has now proven to be authentic. Well, not only has the plot of that particular incident proven to be authentic, but now so has other occurrences. As I watch the radical behavior happening in various people's lives here in America, I'm also watching our weather patterns become just as erratical as the erratical behavior of certain individuals, especially whenever it starts fumigating into the eyes of the masses. And I've said this all along. It talks about the sorrows in the Bible. And it talks about the great retribution that will fall upon the humanity because of the wickedness and the sin of humanity. To me, it's as if you have some sort of a mirror that the heavens can see how radicalized that the people are becoming. And the more radicalized that the people become, the more radicalized that the weather becomes. And you may say, well, I don't really believe that. Well, you can believe what you want to believe, but I'm telling you right now, all these harsh things that continue to keep happening to America, believe it or not, we have just went through one of the most costliest years in regards to natural catastrophes that almost come up to $1 trillion. It was something like 95, not million, but $1 billion last year. Or I say almost $1 trillion. I guess you got to have 10 times that amount before you get to $1 trillion, but $95 billion worth of damages last year alone pertaining to structure in the form of real estate, not counting the cost of human lives. We're just putting a price tag on it right now pertaining to dollar and cents. Over $95 billion of damages last year alone. Well, as you can see, January of this year is starting out similar towards how January of last year started out in Nashville, Tennessee. Just so happens this time it hit a little further south down in Birmingham. But let's watch the radical weather behavior as you're fixing to watch this on ABC. Let's watch this for a second.
The airport closed for a time and school children sheltering in place in the school hallways. And in the west tonight, whiteout conditions on I-5 in Northern California, up to 8 feet of snow in some places.
8 feet of snow.
And a massive mudslide damaging dozens of homes tonight. We're going to track these storms in the east and the west with the newest forecast.
Going from one extreme to another, going from having tremendous droughts that has now burned off their vegetation, no structure to hold the ground together, to the point now of either having massive snow or massive rain that's causing massive mudslides. Going from one catastrophe to another.
Also, evacuations underway tonight. ABC's Will Cartnow.
Evacuations.
From California.
Tonight, an atmospheric river is flowing across the west, blanketing the mountains with blizzard conditions and feet of snow. In the lower elevations, torrential rain. In Monterey County, California, a mudslide trapping residents, damaging as many as 24 homes. Officials had urged people to evacuate, but many, like Austin Lyric, chose to stay.
How concerned are you about what's going to happen?
Not as concerned as my wife. She's pretty worried about it. But on the other hand, we're ready if we need to go.
North of here in Sonoma County, the wind sending outdoor dining tents sailing down the street. Trees crashing into homes. Luckily, the 2 people inside were not hurt. And from a separate system in the east,
Coming down in buckets. We got a tornado warning.
Children and their teachers sheltering in school hallways as a tornado touched down in Tallahassee. Flipping this plane, the airport forced to close for a time. Back in the west, that same system causing this pileup on I-40 in Arizona. And in Sedona, the National Guard using a Black Hawk helicopter to rescue 3 stranded climbers.
David, tonight this area has turned into a river of mud. Crews are doing everything they can with more rain on the way. We're expecting up to 10 inches into tomorrow. David.
Could be a very tough night ahead, Will. Thank you. Let's get right to senior meteorologist Rob Marciano timing it all out for us. Hey, Rob.
Hi, David. The highest impact storm certainly in California, but I don't want to undersell what's happening in the Mid-South, the one that dropped that tornado in Tallahassee. Let's take a look. It's going to bring heavy rain to Georgia and South Carolina, but plowable snows, it looks like, from Indiana all the way to North Carolina tomorrow morning, which is right when Southern California will be getting the brunt of that atmospheric river pointed right at Santa Barbara, then Los Angeles, San Diego. More damaging winds. We had winds over 120 miles an hour in the mountains. Unstoppable rains and feet of mountain snow with a mudslide and flood threat right through Friday. David?
Just getting slammed in California tonight, Rob. Thank you. President Biden making news today with several executive actions on climate, saying it is time to act. Also saying it's an opportunity to create American jobs. 1 million jobs, he says, in the auto industry alone. Here's our chief White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega, tonight.
Once more, the reason why that the weather is lashing out is because the people are becoming radicalized. As the people become radicalized, the weather becomes a radical. It's almost like a reflection into a mirror. The further that we go to the left, the far left, the further that we see storms intensifying and lashing out. People are going to have to wake up in what is going on, or else it says specifically in the Bible, in Revelations, that God will come back to destroy those who are in fact destroying the planet. I truly believe that this man right here has the planet in his sights pertaining to trying to protect her and take care of her. That way future generations can enjoy the things that we have enjoyed. This isn't just about law. This isn't just about government. This is about nature. This is about common sense. This is about respecting her and she'll respect you back. Whenever you no longer respect one another or respect the elements of God, then is whenever God himself can become radicalized towards allowing for these storms to hit and to impenetrate us and to bring that much more grief and sorrow that's compounded up on top of already the grief and sorrow.
Calling the climate crisis an existential threat, President Biden today signed sweeping executive actions reaching across the federal government.
We've already waited too long to deal with this climate crisis. We can't wait any longer. We see it with our own eyes, we feel it, we know it in our bones, and it's time to act.
The actions mandate for the first time that climate change be a central part of all national security and foreign policy decisions. They also freeze new oil and natural gas leases on federal land and waters, invest in low-income and minority communities disproportionately impacted by pollution, and order the government to purchase zero-emission vehicles for its massive fleet.
This will mean 1 million new jobs in the American automobile industry. 1 million.
The move, a stark departure from former President Trump's policies. He brushed aside the science on climate change, though the past 7 years have been the hottest on record.
It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually.
Former President Trump regularly told supporters that Joe Biden's climate policies would cost them their jobs.
Why wouldn't science know? Science keeps a record of what not only happened yesterday, but the day before yesterday, but what happened last year, what happened a year before that year, and a year before that year. Why wouldn't science know that something is going on? As the blind man said, and I don't mean this disrespectful to people that are blind, that even a blind man can see this. You can feel this. You know this. And there has to be a logical reason because of the way that the world is lashing out towards grieving of the wickedness that are going on pertaining to the sorrows that we're now seeing fall upon the humanity. The Bible is very clear about how that these things will occur if we continue on a path of destruction, not only for ourselves, but for this planet. We have to awaken and realize that we are not the ones that are in control of the sun, the darkness, the cold, the heat, the weather-related events that happen all over the planet.
And today, I put that question to the administration's new climate czar, John Kerry.
There certainly are oil and gas industry workers who are watching you both right now, who will hear the message that the takeaway to them is that they are seeing an end to their livelihoods. What do you say to them?
I think that unfortunately workers have been fed a false narrative. No surprise, right? They've been fed the notion that somehow dealing with climate is coming at their expense. No, it's not.
the administration promising that workers will not be left behind. Instead, they'll get new green jobs right at home.
Arguing many jobs to come. Let's get right to Cecilia Vega live at the White House tonight. We know President Biden trying to get a lot of this going before the impeachment trial of the former president. But even President Biden suggesting, and we reported this last night, Cecilia, he said that it was unlikely President Trump would be convicted in this Senate trial. And tonight there's news coming in that at least two senators, a Democrat and Republican, are now proposing an alternate route here to a trial.
David, we're talking about Democrat Tim Kaine and Republican Susan Collins coming together to craft a joint resolution that would censure former President Trump. This, of course, is coming as Democrats appear to be falling far short of those 17 Republican votes that they need to convict President Trump. But while Senator Kaine says, given this shortage of votes they appear to have, that an impeachment trial wouldn't be the best use of the Senate's time, today Majority Leader Chuck Schumer made it clear there will be a trial. And President Biden, David, has said that trial has to happen.
Okay. Now, taking for what you've just seen and for what you've just heard pertaining to the violence, the warnings, the weather, these are all occurrences that's going on presently. This isn't something that we just picked out of a box and said, oh, these are things that happened 10 years ago or 10 days ago or 10 months ago. No, these are things that are occurring presently, right now as we sit and watch this and you hear my voice. So ask yourself a simple question. If the Republicans cannot unite with the Democrats in regards to an election that was committed against the United States government, and who helped to plot it, who helped to formulate it, who agitated it on, does that not send out false signals or false messages to other people that has these same type of ideals? Whenever you look at what the White House is doing, they're exacerbating the problem in a lot of situations. And I'm not talking about so much as Biden's administration. I'm talking about the Congress and the senators, the ones that was already in there before the Biden team ever got on board. They're exacerbating a lot of these problems because it sends out signals. It sends out messages to the general public towards what they do pertaining to high-ranking authorities. And if they cannot come together on this particular issue, that in and of itself is an amplifier to help to bring on all these other little guys down below them towards radicalizing them and thinking that it's okay to be radicalized because we can't even get high-ranking officials to agree upon anything. One thing affects another thing. It's just like a pair of dominoes. And whenever it is a calamity on the upper end pertaining to the upper epillage that goes on with our government officials, whenever they can't get their act together on the upper end, do you really think the lower end's going to be able to get their act together? Let's go back to the Bible. What did Christ say? He said that a divided house would not stand. If they're divided on the upper end, do you really think you're going to be able to pull your team together down on the lower end if they can't get their act together on the upper end? You see what I'm saying? One message, one imagery is worth 1,000 words. What is it? A picture's worth 1,000 words? The people down here that are going through suffering, that have lost their jobs, that have lost loved ones, that has lost their insurance, that are now being radicalized by other people that's talking about getting violent and lashing out. Or they just got through going through some sort of bad natural catastrophe event pertaining to them being at their wits' end. You have a formula of a perfect storm that is brewing. That's the reason why Homeland Security, FBI, put out a special warning today that it is getting even worse since January the 6th. And the more that people continue to keep hearing and seeing how things are unequally yoked up in the White House pertaining to the senators and the congressmen that can't get together in making a decision about something as big as this, whenever they're that unequally yoked on the upper end, you're going to have an unequally yoked body down on the lower end. Because they're giving out images, they're giving out impressions, they're giving out statements whenever they do this. It's all in imagery. Like I said, a picture they claim is worth 1,000 words. And it is. What a person views, how he or she sees something, is worth 1,000 words, because the same person that sees that same image may not have the same word, may not have the same idea about the image that he or she's looking at as the one before him or her or the one after him or her. So you have to look at the variety and how influential pertaining to weak-minded people. And if you'll compile that with people that has been influenced with bad drugs such as meth, cocaine, heroin, etc., and people that was born in this world that was already a heroin addict because their mother was on heroin, if you'll combine the elements along with the coronavirus, along with the natural catastrophes, along with the government being trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, like I said a while ago, towards everybody walking out into the playing field and wanting to get a part of this game going, even though for the past 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, had nobody been concerned because it was all on automatic pilot. We had it on cruise control. Wasn't nobody concerned about the politicians of tomorrow, because we just elect them and put them in power, and we go about our ball games and we go about our lives down here doing what we're going to do, because that's the reason why they make the big bucks, and that's the reason why they get paid the big money. Nobody was paying attention. Now all of a sudden, everybody started paying attention. Everybody wanted to go out and start playing ball on a ball field. That's what we got. As Winston Churchill would say, what you have is a perfect storm that is brewing. That instead of it getting better, the odds are it's going to get worse, especially whenever you have legislation up in the Capitol that can't pull their weight and get their act together. One thing contributes to another thing. It's just like a pair of dominoes. That's what we have going on. We have a hemorrhaging society right now, not just here in America, but it's over in Russia, it's over in China, it's in other parts of the world pertaining to outlandish things that are going on, that I guess this coronavirus has been like the cherry on top that has broken the back of the camel. This has been the straw that has broken the back of the camel. And now we're seeing what we're seeing and feeling what we're feeling, and it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying, especially to little Johnny and little Sally that hasn't never experienced anything like this, They don't know how to register this. They don't know how to comprehend this. They look at this like, my God, if this is the way that the world's turning into, I don't want no part of it. I want to just check out right now. And the next thing you know, they're off in the corner or off in the closet that's done already taken a gun and put to their mouth, or they've done something crazy towards trying to take their life. This is all a toxic atmosphere that breeds more toxicity into more atmosphere. These are sorrows, just as the Bible talks about. Great sorrows, great signs. You have to be willing to understand the signs and see the signs and see the sorrows. Please, please, we're begging of you from the Windmill Ministries, stop and realize that a lot of times when you lash out in a negative way or a violent way, all you're doing is contributing to the problem that's already a problem. You're not solving the problem. You're creating a problem.
Idea seems like it's dead on arrival, but we'll watch it. Cecilia, thank you. We're learning more tonight after that hostage standoff at a Texas medical office ending with 2 people dead, including a beloved pediatrician and mother of 3.
Here we go. See what I'm saying? More bad news, more radical behavior. Let's listen to this.
Here's ABC's Marcus Moore.
Tonight, authorities revealing new details in an hours-long standoff that left this 43-year-old mother of 3 and pediatrician dead. Late Tuesday afternoon, Austin, Texas police rushed to a doctor's office on reports that a man, now identified as Dr. Bharat Naramanchi, was holding 5 workers hostage, including Dr. Catherine Lindley Dodson. Hostages telling police Naramanchi was allegedly armed with a pistol and what appeared to be a shotgun.
He told the hostages to tie themselves up. Some of the hostages were able to escape, and some of them were ultimately released.
With only Dodson left in the office, negotiators tried to speak to Naramanchi, and when SWAT officers finally entered the building, they found both doctors dead, police calling it a murder-suicide. Today, a community's pain on full display at the tragic scene. Dodson's family saying in a statement, quote, "She brightened our lives and lifted us up with her laughter, which was like magic."
Wow. How sad is that? Great sorrows. How sad is it whenever a gunman walks into a school and kills a bunch of children? How sad is it whenever somebody kicks out a window in the high floor and starts spraying everybody with a bunch of bullets? How sad is it whenever someone walks into a church and decides to kill a bunch of people that's in there praying? I'm telling you, people need to listen to the signs. Just as the Bible talks about that in the last days, Satan will rise up in great wrath because he knoweth his time is short. We are experiencing things here in the land of the free like we have never ever seen before. And it has been building, and it has been building for the past, give or take, 15 or 20 years, at least 15, since the ordeal happened in the university over there in Virginia or West Virginia. I think it was in 2005 or 2006. But we've seen these incidences growing and getting worse and worse and worse. And one thing adds to another thing. You know, you figure, I'm watching this program right now of ABC that just got through watching this. I think their viewing potential is about, if I'm not mistaken, give or take about 45 million people, 60 million people, between 45 and 60 million people. So 45 to 60 million people have just got through watching the very thing that you've just got through watching and listening to, other than me putting in my comments, okay? Out of this 45 to 60 million people, there's going to be people, once more, beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, that's going to look at the glass, and some of them are going to look at it towards it being half full, and some of them are going to look at it towards it being half empty. One negative image will draw to another negative image. One bad event will lead to another bad event. It's just like a pair of dominoes. And if they can't get their act together up there on the hill, do you really think we're going to get our act together down here under the hill, down here in the valley? You see what I'm saying? The toxicity is just like a cancer, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows, to the point that now innocent lives are being taken all over the planet. People's going to have to come together, and they're going to have to pull together in realizing what we're up against. And we're going to have to head this off in a spiritual matter pertaining to attacking this on the right perspective of seeing this as it really is. Because like I said, true Christianity is supposed to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. True Christianity.
Authorities say the 43-year-old suspect, also a pediatrician, had recently been diagnosed with terminal cancer and given weeks to live.
We feel like
so now because they're going to die, they're going to go out in a blaze of glory and take 2 or 3 other people with them. That's evil thinking. That's demonic and evil thinking that anybody would want to do that.
like his terminal cancer probably played a large part in whatever it was that occurred in his life and what was happening yesterday.
David, police say Nairo Monchi visited that office in the last week or two wanting to volunteer. He met with Dotson and others, but eventually was turned down. Tonight, the alleged motive in this case is a mystery. David.
All right, Marcus Moore tonight from Texas. Thank you, Marcus. To news on the economy tonight, the Dow falling nearly 634 points today. Its worst day since October. An encouraging note, though, from Tesla tonight, reporting its first full year of profit after 18 years in business. Its electric cars finally paying off. When we come back here tonight, the warning about iPhones and iPads, what you're being urged to do to secure them tonight, and the NFL player arrested. He now says he's, quote, truly ashamed. His team after being arrested for domestic violence. The Seattle Seahawks releasing Chad Wheeler, accusing him of choking his girlfriend, the victim calling 911 from a locked bathroom. Tonight, Wheeler tweeting he suffered a, quote, manic episode, that he's deeply sorry. He says he will get help. Tonight, if you have an iPhone or an iPad, Apple is issuing an alert, the company urging you to update your operating systems to fix 3 security flaws, possibly, they say, exploited by hackers. A fix now available for the iPhone 6 and later and the iPad Air 2 and later. You need to update to iOS operating system 14.4. When we come back, we celebrate a beloved actress tonight. To the index, and Walgreens naming the former COO of Starbucks, Roz Brewer, as the new CEO of Walgreens, making her the only black woman to lead a Fortune 500 company. And the inaugural poet, Amanda Gorman, will now be at the Super Bowl. The NFL says Gorman will recite an original poem during the pregame show. Stay tuned. And next year, paying tribute to a comedy legend tonight.
Once weekly Ozempic.
Return. I'm here as an attorney. Tonight on ABC.
Arius, Cloris Leachman. Cloris Leachman, an Oscar winner, an Emmy winner, and a fixture in millions of American homes for decades. In Young Frankenstein, it was her name, the mere mention of it.
I am Paul Brucho.
Her range celebrated.
I haven't done anything wrong. Why can't I quit apologizing?
Winning an Academy Award for her portrayal of a lonely housewife in The Last Picture Show.
The winner is Cloris Leachman.
Always using humor and always grateful.
To Cornelia Williams Hurlbut, my first piano teacher, and Rose Lorenz, my dancing teacher in Des Moines, and my father, Buck Leachman, who paid the bills.
Beloved for her role on The Mary Tyler Moore Show as Phyllis.
Oh, Mary. Dear, funny Mary.
In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, she was asked what's her secret after a long and storied run in Hollywood.
I try to eat healthy food and, do a few little somethings, not much. You have to be ready to work. If you're not ready to live, at least you're ready to work.
Cloris Leachman was 94 and a legend.
What do you remember when...
Leave it on a good measure tonight, even though the majority of it's horrifying. We need to remember each other in prayer and put aside these differences and start working together as a team. United we stand, divided we fall. United we stand, divided we fall. Listen to that. United we stand, divided we fall. Satan is the author of confusion. Satan is out to kill, steal, and destroy. Satan has brought division amongst us to the point that now we're starting to become weaker and weaker and weaker as a society, as a whole. Please take note of the seriousness of this particular message tonight, even though we ended on a good note. Please. And if you don't do it for yourself, do it for someone that you care about. Do it for your children. Do it for your grandparents. Do it for the person that mentored you. Just do it because it's the right thing to do. Thanks again for listening to us. Good luck to all of us, and shalom. And may God have mercy on us all.